Zixthar stood at the viewing window of Kepler-7 station and watched the stars. His silver-blue armor plating caught the light from the distant sun. He had served as a bodyguard for 15 years. He had protected council members during war negotiations. He had shielded ambassadors from assassination attempts. He had stood between danger and the most important people in the galaxy. And now they wanted him to babysit humans. His partner, Mirasol, walked up beside him. She was younger, her carapace still shining with the bright blue of youth. Her 4 compound eyes looked at him with barely hidden excitement. "Have you read the files on our new assignment?" she asked. Zixthar made a clicking sound that meant no. "I know enough. We protect a human family, the wife of a diplomat, 2 small children. They want to go shopping in the civilian quarter." "But did you read about Earth?" "It's fascinating. The planet is classified as a Class 12 death world. That's only 2 levels below." "I don't care what classification their planet has," Zixthar interrupted. "Look at them." He pointed down at the promenade below where several humans walked. "They're small, fragile. Their skin has no armor, no scales, no natural weapons. They're prey animals that somehow developed intelligence." Mirasol's antennae drooped slightly. "The reports say they're stronger than they look." "Everything is stronger than it looks to a recruit who's never seen real combat." Zixthar turned away from the window. "Come, we have a briefing in 10 minutes. The briefing room was standard issue. White walls, a long table. Holographic displays waiting to be activated. A human man sat at the head of the table. He wore the formal uniform of a diplomatic aide. His hair was black and cut short. His name tag read, Peter Gibson. "Thank you for coming," Peter said as they entered. "Please, sit." Zixthar and Mirasol took their positions on the opposite side of the table. Peter activated the holographic display. An image of a human woman appeared. She had brown hair pulled back into what humans called a ponytail. Her face was pleasant, unremarkable. She looked like 1,000 other human females. "This is Linda Hayes," Peter explained. "She's the wife of Ambassador Hayes. They have 2 children. Amy is 7 years old, Danny is 4. 2 smaller images appeared beside Linda's. The girl had her mother's brown hair. The boy had lighter hair, almost yellow. Both smiled at the camera with the innocent joy that young creatures of any species seemed to share. "Linda wants to take the children shopping tomorrow," Peter continued. "The ambassador is concerned about security. There have been no specific threats, but given the recent integration of humanity into the Galactic Council, we're being cautious." "What is her background?" Zixthar asked. It was always good to know who you were protecting. Peter pulled up another screen. "Linda was a school teacher on Earth. She taught young children. When her husband received his diplomatic post, she came with him. She's been on Kepler-7 for 6 months now. No incidents, no problems. She's well liked by the other diplomatic families." "Does she have any combat training?" Mirasol asked. "No. She's a civilian. A mother. Your job is to ensure she and her children remain safe during their shopping trip." Peter looked at both guards. "This should be a simple assignment. The civilian quarter is well monitored. Station security is excellent. You're there as an extra precaution." Zixthar nodded. Simple indeed. Perhaps too simple for a guard of his experience. "What time does the assignment begin?" 0900 hours station time. You'll meet Linda and her children at their residential unit. From there, you'll escort them to the civilian quarter. She expects to spend about 3 hours shopping. Then you'll escort them home." "Understood." Zixthar stood. The briefing was over. Peter stood as well. "One more thing. Linda asked that you not be too obvious about being guards. She doesn't want to frighten her children or make them feel like they're in danger. Can you be discreet?" Mirasol clicked her mandibles in amusement. "We're Quellan. Discretion is part of our training." "Good." Peter smiled. Humans showed emotion through facial expressions. It was strange, but Zixthar had learned to read them over the years. Thank you both. I'm sure everything will go smoothly. After they left the briefing room, Mirasol pulled out her data pad. She was already reading files again. Did you know that Earth has a gravity of 1.2 standard, and their atmosphere is 21% oxygen? That's enough to be toxic to half the species on the Council. It means nothing, Zixthar said. Adaptation doesn't equal strength. Yes, they come from a harsh world. So do the Kravix. But you've seen how the Kravix act on station. They're slow, clumsy. Their bodies adapted to high gravity, but it makes them vulnerable in normal conditions. Maybe humans are different. Maybe they're not. Zixthar stopped walking and looked at his partner. Mirasol, I know you're excited. New species, new experiences, but don't romanticize them. Humans are just another client. We protect them. We keep them safe. We collect our pay. That's all. Mirasol's antennae lowered in what might have been embarrassment or disagreement. Yes, Senior Guard. That evening, Zixthar reviewed the security layouts of the civilian quarter. He noted all exits, all potential choke points, all areas where an attack might come from. It was routine work he'd done 1,000 times before. His communicator chimed. Mirasol's voice came through. Are you still preparing? Always. I was just thinking. Tomorrow will be my first time protecting human children. What are they like? Zixthar considered the question. Young creatures are all the same, regardless of species. They're curious, energetic, unpredictable. The challenge isn't protecting them from threats, it's protecting them from themselves. Mirasol made a sound that was almost laughter. You sound like you've done this before. I protected the Chancellor's spawn during the Trade Summit 3 years ago. The little one tried to climb into the engine of a transport vehicle. Zixthar's mandibles clicked at the memory. Keep your eyes on the children at all times. They move faster than you think. The residential unit where the Hayes family lived was in the diplomatic section of Kepler 7. The door opened before Zixthar could announce their arrival. Linda Hayes stood in the doorway with a smile on her face. You must be Zixthar and Mirasol, she said. Please come in. The interior was decorated with items from Earth. Pictures of mountains hung on the walls. A soft rug covered part of the floor. 2 small humans ran past, chasing each other and laughing. Amy, Danny, slow down, Linda called out. She looked back at the guards with an apologetic expression. Sorry. They're excited about going to the toy store. It's no problem, Mirasol said. Young ones are always energetic. Linda gathered a bag with supplies, water containers, snacks, a medical kit. Zixthar noted her preparation with approval. She thought ahead. That was good. I know this seems excessive, Linda said, noticing his gaze. But with 2 kids, you learn to be ready for anything. Preparation is wise, Zixthar replied. Danny ran up to Mirasol and stared up at her with wide eyes. You're blue, and you have 4 eyes. That's so cool. Danny, don't be rude, Linda said gently. It's all right. Mirasol knelt down to the child's level. Yes, I have 4 eyes. It helps me see in all directions. That way I can keep you safe. Awesome, Danny breathed. Amy joined her brother, more cautious but equally curious. Can you really see everywhere at once? Almost everywhere, Mirasol admitted. I still have blind spots, but I'm very good at watching for danger. Are we in danger? Amy asked, suddenly worried. Linda put a hand on her daughter's shoulder. No, sweetheart. These guards are just here to make sure we stay safe, like wearing a seatbelt in a car. It's just a precaution. The explanation seemed to satisfy the children. Linda looked at Zixthar. Ready when you are? The civilian quarter was a massive section of the station. Shops from dozens of worlds lined the walkways. Floating platforms displayed goods. Holographic advertisements flickered in multiple languages. The air smelled of 1,000 different things: food, chemicals, scents that had no name in any language Zixthar knew. Danny held his mother's hand tightly. His eyes were huge as he looked at everything. Amy walked beside them, trying to act grown up, but clearly just as amazed. "First stop is the supply depot," Linda said. "We need some basic things. Toilet paper, soap, things like that." The supply depot was run by a Torvian, a species with gray skin and too many arms. The Torvian greeted Linda warmly. They clearly knew each other. "Mrs. Hayes, good to see you," the Torvian said in decent human standard language. "The usual items?" "Yes, please. Plus some extra snacks. We're running low." While Linda shopped, Zixthar and Mirasol positioned themselves at different angles. They could see the entire store. Anyone approaching would be spotted immediately. It was basic protection protocol. Danny got bored quickly. He started touching items on the shelves. Linda redirected him without raising her voice. "Danny, hands to yourself, please. But Mom, look at this." He held up some kind of alien fruit. "It's purple." "Yes, and it's also poisonous to humans, so put it down." Danny dropped it quickly. Amy laughed at her brother's startled expression. They moved through several more shops. Linda bought food that was safe for human consumption. The selection was limited. Earth had only recently joined the Galactic Council. Many stations didn't stock much in the way of human-compatible goods yet. At one shop, a Dravix merchant tried to charge triple the normal price. The Dravix were large, nearly twice the height of an average human. Their scales were dark green and their eyes were yellow. "This price is incorrect," Linda said calmly. "Last week I paid 30 credits for this item. You're charging 90. "Prices change," the Dravix rumbled. His voice was deep enough to make the floor vibrate slightly. "Not by 300% in 1 week." Linda held up her datapad. "I have the transaction record right here." The Dravix leaned down, trying to use his size to intimidate her. Zixthar tensed, ready to intervene. But Linda didn't step back. She didn't flinch. She just looked up at the merchant with a patient expression. "You can charge me the correct price," she said, "or I can report this to Station Commerce Regulation. Your choice." The Dravix stared at her for a long moment. Then he made a sound like rocks grinding together. It was Dravix laughter. "You have spine, human. All right, 30 credits." Linda paid and thanked him politely. As they walked away, Mirasol spoke quietly. "You handled that well." "My dad ran a store back on Earth," Linda explained. "I learned young that you can't let people push you around, even if they're bigger than you." They stopped at a cafe that served food from multiple worlds. Linda ordered something called pizza for the children. She got herself a salad. Zixthar and Mirasol didn't eat. Quellen could go days without food. It was an adaptation from their desert world. While the children ate, Mirasol couldn't contain her curiosity any longer. "What's Earth like?" Linda's face softened. "Beautiful. Dangerous. Both at the same time. I grew up in a place called Colorado. Mountains everywhere. The air was so thin that visitors from lower altitudes would get sick. But on a clear day, you could see 100 miles. "Did you ever see dangerous animals?" Mirasol asked. "Bears sometimes. Mountain lions. Rattlesnakes. You learned to be careful. Make noise when you hiked so you didn't surprise anything. Carry spray just in case." Linda smiled at the memory. "I miss it sometimes. The space station is safe, but it's all metal and recycled air." "Do you regret leaving?" Zixthar asked. "No. My husband's work is important. And the kids are getting to see things I never imagined as a girl. Last month, Amy made friends with a Centaurian child. They don't even breathe the same atmosphere, but they figured out how to play games together through a barrier wall." Linda looked at her children, who were giggling over their pizza. That's worth more than mountains. After lunch, they visited the toy store. It was chaos inside. Children of a dozen species ran between aisles. Parents tried to maintain order. The noise was incredible. Danny immediately ran to a display of model spaceships. Amy went to the books. Linda followed her daughter while Mirasol kept an eye on Danny. Zixthar positioned himself where he could see both children and the entrance. Amy selected a book about Earth animals. The pictures showed creatures called elephants and whales and something labeled as a polar bear. Linda approved the choice. Danny wanted everything: a model ship, a stuffed animal, a puzzle, a game. Linda negotiated him down to one item. After much debate, he chose a stuffed creature that looked like a bear. "Good choice," Linda said. "That looks just like the bears we have in Colorado." At the checkout, the clerk looked at their purchases and smiled. "Your children are well behaved. Many parents leave here with screaming kids." "We have an agreement," Linda said. "They can each pick one toy. If they argue or throw tantrums, we leave with nothing. It took a few hard lessons, but they learned. Simple rules, clear consequences." Zixthar recognized good leadership when he saw it. This human female might not have combat training, but she knew how to maintain order. They loaded their purchases into a hover cart. The cart floated along beside them as they walked toward the parking structure. Danny was already playing with his stuffed bear. Amy had her nose in her new book. "Thank you both," Linda said to the guards. "I know this probably seems boring compared to your usual work." "It's our job," Zixthar replied. "Boring is good. Boring means safe." "Well, I appreciate it anyway. The ambassador worries, you know. He thinks because we're new to the council, someone might try to use us to send a message." The parking structure was cold and gray. Artificial lights hung from the ceiling, casting harsh shadows between the rows of vehicles. The sound of their footsteps echoed off the metal walls. Danny's excited chatter bounced around the empty space. "Our vehicle is on level 3, Linda said, checking her datapad. "Section J." They took the lift up. The doors opened with a hiss. Level 3 stretched out before them. Hundreds of vehicles sat in neat rows. Everything from sleek diplomatic transports to bulky cargo haulers. The ceiling was high above them, supported by massive metal beams. Amy and Danny ran ahead, their feet making slapping sounds on the metal floor. Linda called after them. "Stay where I can see you." "We will, Mom," Amy called back. Zixthar scanned the area out of habit. Empty. Quiet. No threats. Just a normal parking level. A few other people were scattered around, heading to their own vehicles. A maintenance drone floated past, checking pressure seals. Their assigned transport was a standard diplomatic model. Sleek, silver, with the seal of the Galactic Council on the side. Linda pulled out her access card and the vehicle's doors unlocked with a soft click. "Finally," she said. "My feet are killing me. I swear these station floors are harder than Earth concrete." She began loading their purchases into the cargo compartment. Mirasol helped her while Zixthar maintained his watch. Danny had wandered a few meters away, looking at a large cargo hauler with wide eyes. "Mom, look at that one. It's huge." "Danny, come back here, please," Linda said without looking up. That's when Zixthar heard it. A sound that made his training kick into high alert. A grinding noise, metal on metal, coming from above. He looked up. 3 levels directly overhead, a massive cargo hauler was shifting. Its repulsor field was flickering, failing. The vehicle was loaded with construction materials. Zixthar could see metal beams and containers strapped to its flatbed. "Get back!" he shouted. The cargo hauler's repulsors died completely. The vehicle dropped. It happened fast. The hauler fell and crashed into a support beam. The beam buckled. Vehicles on the level below were knocked loose. They tumbled down like toys. A chain reaction of falling metal and breaking machinery. Zixthar's combat computer brain calculated trajectories, escape routes, survival probabilities. He could save himself. He could probably grab Mirasol. The humans were too far away. The mathematics of death were clear and absolute. He saw a civilian transport break free from the second level. It was falling directly toward them. A 2-ton vehicle in free fall. It would hit in approximately 3 seconds. Linda saw it too. Her head snapped up at Zixthar's warning. Her eyes tracked the falling debris. Zixthar watched her face change. The pleasant expression vanished. Something else took its place. Something cold and calculating. She moved. Linda grabbed Amy with one hand and literally threw her daughter toward Mirazal. The Quellan guard caught the girl on instinct. Amy screamed but was safe. But Danny had wandered to the side. He stood frozen, looking up at the falling vehicle with the incomprehension of a child who doesn't understand death. He was too far away. Linda couldn't reach him in time to pull him clear. Zixthar started running. He wouldn't make it. The math was absolute. The vehicle was falling too fast. Linda ran too. But instead of trying to drag Danny out of the way, she did something that made no sense. She positioned herself directly under the falling vehicle. She spread her feet apart, bent her knees, raised her arms above her head. She was going to try to catch it. Zixthar wanted to scream at her. "You can't. It's impossible. Human bone density is too low. Human muscle mass is insufficient. The vehicle weighs more than 20 times your body weight. The impact will kill you instantly." The vehicle fell the last meter. Linda caught it. Her hands made contact with the undercarriage. The impact drove her down. Her knees bent further. Her feet scraped against the metal floor. But she didn't collapse. She didn't fall. Her arms, shaking like branches in a storm, held the vehicle up. Time seemed to stop. Zixthar's brain refused to process what he was seeing. It violated every law of physics he understood. The vehicle should have crushed her, should have driven her into the floor like a nail under a hammer, but it didn't. Linda's face had turned dark red. The veins in her neck stood out like cables. Her teeth were clenched so hard Zixthar could see the muscles in her jaw. A sound came from her throat, not quite a scream, not quite a growl, something primal and terrible. Below the suspended vehicle, Danny stood crying. He didn't understand what was happening. He just knew his mother was making scary sounds. Linda's voice came out strangled, each word forced through clenched teeth. "Get him out now!" Mirazal reacted. She put Amy down and dove forward. Her hands grabbed Danny and pulled him out from under the vehicle. The moment the child was clear, Linda made a sound that Zixthar would remember for the rest of his life. It was a roar, pure and terrible. The sound a predator makes when defending its territory. The sound of a creature that will not yield, will not break, will not accept defeat. Linda didn't just drop the vehicle. She pushed up with her legs and shoved it to the side. The transport flew sideways and crashed into an empty parking spot. Metal crumpled. Glass shattered. The vehicle's frame bent from the impact. Linda staggered. Her hands were bleeding. The undercarriage had cut into her palms. Her legs shook. She looked at Danny, confirmed he was safe in Mirasol's arms. Then her knees gave out. She dropped to the floor, breathing in great gasping lungfuls of air. Zixthar finally reached her. His hands moved on autopilot, checking for injuries. His training said to stabilize the victim. Check for broken bones, internal bleeding. But his mind was still stuck on what he'd just witnessed. Impossible. The word kept repeating. Impossible. Other people were gathering now. Station security came running. Someone was shouting about medical assistance. More debris was still falling in the distance. Alarms blared. The parking structure's emergency systems activated, flooding the area with warning lights. Linda pushed herself up onto her hands and knees. Blood dripped from her palms onto the floor. She looked past Zixthar to where Mirazol held both children. "Are they okay?" Her voice was rough, raw. "They're safe," Mirazol answered. "Both of them are safe." Linda's eyes closed. Relief washed over her face. Then she tried to stand and her legs wouldn't support her. Zixthar caught her before she fell. "Don't move," he said. "Medical is coming." "I'm fine." But she wasn't. Her whole body was shaking. Delayed shock setting in. A medical team arrived with a hovering stretcher. Linda refused it. "I can walk, I just need a minute." "Ma'am, you need to be examined," one of the medics insisted. "After I see my children." Linda's voice had steel in it, the same steel that had held up a 2-ton vehicle. The medics looked at Zixthar. He made a decision. "Let her see her children first." They helped Linda walk the few meters to where Mirazol stood with Amy and Danny. Both children were crying. Amy threw herself at her mother. Danny clung to Linda's leg. "It's okay," Linda said softly. "It's okay. Everyone's safe. Nobody's hurt." "Your hands are bleeding, Mom," Amy said through tears. "Just scratches. I'm fine, baby." "I'm fine." Linda hugged both children as best she could with her injured hands. She looked up at Mirazol. "Thank you. For catching Amy. For getting Danny out." "You saved him," Mirazol said quietly. All 4 of her eyes were wide. "You caught a vehicle. I saw it. I still don't believe it, but I saw it." More security arrived. They needed statements. They needed to understand what happened. The parking structure was being evacuated. The entire level was declared unsafe. The medical team convinced Linda to let them treat her hands. They sprayed something on the cuts that sealed them. One medic ran a scanner over her body while asking Zixthar what happened. Zixthar explained, or tried to. The words sounded insane even to him, a human female, weighing perhaps 60 kilograms. Catching a vehicle that weighed more than 2,000 kilograms. Holding it long enough for her child to be pulled to safety, then throwing it aside. The medic's expression said he didn't believe it. "That's not possible. The human body can't—" "I saw it," Zixthar interrupted. "So did my partner. So did the security cameras. Check the footage." The medic did something on his scanner. His face went pale. "Her hormone levels are off the scale. Adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine. I've never seen readings like this." The medical center at Kepler-7 was designed to treat dozens of different species. The examination room where Linda sat had equipment that could scan everything from silicon-based life to energy beings. Right now, all that advanced technology was focused on one human woman. Dr. Ventar was a Quellan like Zixthar, but older. His carapace had turned dark blue with age. He had been a military doctor before retiring to station duty. He moved around Linda with professional efficiency, running scanners over her body while studying the readouts. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Tired," Linda admitted. "My hands hurt. My legs are sore. But I'm okay." Her children sat in chairs against the wall. Amy held Danny close. Both had stopped crying, but their eyes were red. Peter Gibson, the diplomatic aide from the briefing, stood with them. He had arrived minutes after they reached the medical center, summoned by emergency protocols. Zixthar and Mirazol stood near the door. Neither had left since the incident. Zixthar felt like he needed to stay, to make sense of what he had witnessed. His entire understanding of reality had shifted, and he needed answers. Dr. Ventar finished his scans and stepped back. "Remarkable. Your muscle tissue shows signs of extreme stress, but no permanent damage. Your bones are intact, your tendons are strained, but not torn. By all rights, you should be in pieces." "But I'm not," Linda said. "No, you're not." The doctor pulled up a holographic display. "Let me show you something." The display showed a human body in profile. The doctor pointed to different areas. "This is your normal muscle capacity. Under standard conditions, humans use approximately 30% of their actual strength. This is a safety measure. If you used full muscle capacity all the time, you would tear your own tendons from your bones. You would shatter your joints. Your body protects you from yourself." He changed the image. The muscles turned from blue to red. But under extreme stress, your adrenal glands release a flood of hormones. These hormones override the safety limits. Temporarily, you gain access to strength you didn't know you had. Hysterical strength, Linda said quietly. I've heard of it. People lifting cars off accident victims. Mothers fighting off animals to protect their children. Exactly. Dr. Ventar looked at Zixthar. Your people don't have this ability. Neither do most species in the Council. We evolved on stable worlds where such extreme measures weren't necessary. But Earth... He called up another display. The image showed a planet, blue oceans, green and brown continents, white clouds swirling in patterns. It looked beautiful from space. Peaceful. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world, the doctor continued. Only 8% of known planets fall into this category. The gravity is higher than galactic standard. The atmosphere is rich in oxygen, which is corrosive to many species. The weather patterns are violent. The native life is extremely aggressive. He pulled up images. A creature with massive jaws and too many teeth. Something called a great white shark. Another image showed a bear, like the stuffed toy Danny carried. Except this one was real. 3 meters tall, claws like knives. Humans evolved alongside these predators, Dr. Ventar said. They developed persistence hunting, the ability to chase prey for hours. They developed throwing accuracy, the ability to kill from a distance. And they developed this. He gestured at the muscle display. Emergency strength. The ability to perform impossible feats when survival demands it. Zixthar stared at the images. He had known Earth was classified as a death world. He hadn't understood what that meant. Not really. Not until now. How much weight can a human lift under these conditions? He asked. It varies, the doctor said. But documented cases exist of humans lifting objects weighing 3 to 4 times their body mass. Some reports claim even higher, though those are harder to verify. The vehicle Linda caught weighed over 2,000 kilograms, Mirazol said quietly. She weighs about 60 kilograms. That's more than 30 times her body weight. Dr. Ventar's antennae twitched. That should be impossible. Even with hysterical strength, the structural integrity of her bones should have failed. Unless... He turned back to Linda. What was going through your mind when you caught the vehicle? Linda looked at her children. I saw it falling toward Danny. I knew I couldn't get him out in time. So I thought, if I can't move him, I'll stop it. I didn't think about whether I could. I just knew I had to. Maternal instinct, the doctor said. The strongest drive in nature. Humans will die to protect their young. This is common across species. But humans... He paused, searching for words. Humans don't accept death easily. They fight, even when fighting is futile. Even when mathematics says they cannot win. They try anyway. Is that a death world trait? Zixthar asked. Yes. Stable worlds produce stable species. Comfortable, accepting of their limitations, but death worlds produce survivors, species that refuse to yield, that adapt or die. The doctor looked at Linda with something like respect. Mrs. Hayes, your ancestors climbed to the top of Earth's food chain with no natural weapons, no claws, no venom, no armor, just intelligence and the refusal to give up. That legacy is in every cell of your body. Linda smiled tiredly. Right now, my body mostly wants a hot bath and about 12 hours of sleep. The doctor clicked his mandibles in amusement. Understandable. I'm clearing you for release. Rest for the next few days. Your body needs to recover. Avoid heavy lifting. He paused. Well, avoid lifting anything heavier than your children, at least. Peter Gibson stepped forward. I've arranged for security to escort you home. The ambassador wants to see you, but I told him it could wait until tomorrow. Thank you. Linda stood slowly. Her legs were still shaky. Zixthar moved to help her, but she waved him off. I can manage. She walked to her children and knelt down, wincing slightly. "Are you two okay?" Amy hugged her mother carefully, aware of her injuries. "I was scared." "I know, baby. I was scared too. But you saved Danny." Amy looked at her mother with awe. "You caught a whole car." "I did what I had to do." Linda kissed her daughter's forehead. "That's what moms do." Danny, who had been quiet since the incident, finally spoke. "You're like a superhero, Mom." Linda laughed. It was a tired sound, but genuine. "No superpowers, kiddo. Just love. And a lot of adrenaline." They left the medical center together. Peter Gibson went ahead to arrange transport. Linda walked slowly, one hand on Amy's shoulder, the other holding Danny's hand. Zixthar and Mirasol followed behind. "Senior Guard," Mirasol said quietly, "what are we going to put in our report?" Zixthar didn't answer immediately. What could he say? That his assumptions about humans were completely wrong? That a species he had dismissed as fragile and weak had just demonstrated strength that defied everything he knew? "The truth," he finally said. "We'll report exactly what happened." "They won't believe it." "They will when they see the security footage." Zixthar watched Linda Hayes walking ahead of them. A mother, a teacher, a Deathworlder. And then they'll have to reconsider everything they think they know about humans. Mirasol was quiet for a moment. "You were wrong, you know. About this being an easy assignment." "Yes," Zixthar agreed. "I was wrong about many things." They rode the transport back to the residential sector in silence. Linda sat with her children pressed against her sides. Danny had fallen asleep, exhausted by fear and relief. Amy fought to keep her eyes open. When they arrived at the Hayes family quarters, Linda turned to the guards. "Thank you both, for everything, especially for getting my children to safety." "We did very little," Mirasol said. "You did the impossible part." "I did what any parent would do." "No," Zixthar said firmly. "You did what only a human parent could do. What only a Deathworlder could do." He paused. "Mrs. Hayes, I have protected diplomats and generals. I have stood between bullets and council members, but I have never seen courage like yours. You looked at certain death and you didn't flinch. You didn't run. You stood your ground and you won." Linda's eyes were wet. "I wasn't brave. I was terrified." "Bravery is not the absence of fear. It's acting despite fear. You are the definition of brave." Zixthar made a decision. "If you'll have us, my partner and I would like to continue as your guards. Not because we were assigned, but because it would be an honor." Linda looked surprised. "I thought you said this was boring work. Babysitting." "I was wrong. I underestimated you. I underestimated what humans are capable of. I won't make that mistake again." Linda smiled. "Then yes, I'd be happy to have you both continue. The kids like you. And I have to admit, after today, having professional guards around makes me feel better." They said their good nights. Linda carried Danny inside while Amy followed, already half asleep. The door closed behind them. Zixthar and Mirasol stood in the corridor for a long moment. "Everything we learned in training," Mirasol said. "All the threat assessments, all the species profiles, they're wrong about humans." "Yes," Zixthar agreed. "They are." 3 days passed. 3 days in which the security footage from the parking structure spread through Kepler 7 station like a virus. Everyone wanted to see it. The human woman catching the falling vehicle. The impossible feat. The moment that changed everything. Zixthar spent those 3 days researching. He accessed every file on Earth that he could find. Every report on human physiology. Every study on Deathworld adaptations. The more he learned, the more disturbed he became. Humans could run for hours without stopping. Most species could sprint, but humans could maintain a steady pace that would exhaust any prey. It was called persistence hunting. Chase an animal until it collapsed from heat exhaustion, then kill it at leisure. Humans could survive injuries that would kill most council species. Broken bones that they would walk on. Wounds they would seal with primitive stitches and keep fighting. Blood loss that should mean death. But they would survive through sheer stubborn refusal to die. Humans could adapt to almost any environment, from frozen tundra to burning deserts, from high mountains where the air was thin to deep jungles where diseases filled every breath. They spread across their entire planet, conquering every climate, every terrain. And most disturbing of all, humans had something called caffeine and alcohol. They consumed poisons for pleasure. Caffeine to stay awake longer, alcohol to relax. Things that would make other species sick or dead, humans drank socially. Mirasol found him in the station library, surrounded by holographic displays of Earth data. "You need to sleep," she said. "I need to understand." Zixthar gestured at the displays. "Look at this. Humans fought wars before they had technology, with metal weapons, hand-to-hand combat. They would march for days, fight for hours, and sleep on the ground, then wake up and do it again. Many species have warrior cultures. Not like this. Humans didn't fight for territory alone. They fought for ideas, for beliefs. They would die for abstract concepts that had no physical form. Religion, freedom, honor." Zixthar pulled up another file. "And they still do. Their military personnel sign up knowing they might die. They volunteer for it." Mirasol was quiet for a moment. "Are you afraid of them?" The question made Zixthar pause. Was he afraid? He thought about Linda Hayes, about her smile when her children laughed, about the way she patiently taught Danny to tie his shoes, about her kindness to the merchants in the civilian quarter. "No," he said finally. "I'm not afraid, but I'm no longer ignorant. There's a difference." "The council wants to debrief us," Mirasol said. "Tomorrow. They've seen the footage. They have questions." "I imagine they do." The next morning, Zixthar and Mirasol stood before a panel of council security officials. The room was formal, cold. A holographic projector displayed the parking structure footage on a loop, Linda catching the vehicle, holding it, throwing it aside. "Explain this," demanded Council Member Trenvor. He was a Methian, tall and thin, with skin like pale leather. Zixthar gave his report. The facts, stated clearly. The civilian shopping trip, the parking structure, the cascade failure, the falling vehicle, Linda Hayes positioning herself to catch it, the impossible feat of strength. "And you're certain the footage hasn't been altered?" Trenvor asked. "The station's technical team verified it," Zixthar replied. "It's authentic." Another council member leaned forward. She was Quellan, like Zixthar, but from a different clan. Her name was Sarex. "Dr. Ventar filed a medical report. He claims this is a natural human ability. Emergency strength triggered by stress hormones." "That is correct," Zixthar confirmed. "And all humans can do this?" "Potentially, yes. Under the right circumstances. When protecting their young, the effect is strongest." The council members looked at each other. Zixthar could read their body language. Concern, worry, fear, perhaps. They were recalculating everything they knew about humanity. "How many humans are on this station?" Trenvor asked. "Approximately 5,000, another official answered. "Diplomatic families, traders, some military personnel on exchange programs." 5,000 Deathworlders, Sarek said quietly. "And we didn't understand what that meant." "They're not a threat," Zixthar said firmly. "Mrs. Hayes used her strength to save her child, not to attack anyone. Humans are protective, yes. Capable of extreme measures, yes. But they're not aggressive by nature." "Not aggressive?" Trenvor pulled up another file. "I've been reading about Earth history. They fought wars that killed millions of their own kind. They developed weapons that could destroy their entire planet. They're one of the most violent species we've encountered." "They were," Zixthar corrected. "Past tense. Yes, human history is bloody, but they learned. They unified their planet. They stopped their wars. They reached for the stars instead of each other's throats. That shows growth, evolution, not just biological, but cultural. Mirasol spoke up for the first time. If I may add something, I've studied human literature. Their stories. They celebrate heroes who protect the weak, who sacrifice themselves for others, who stand against evil even when they can't win. These aren't the values of a purely violent species. Pretty words, Trenvor said, but facts remain. Humans are dangerous. All intelligent species are dangerous, Zixthar replied. The question is whether they choose to use that danger to harm or to protect. Mrs. Hayes chose to protect. That tells me everything I need to know about human character. The debriefing continued for another hour. More questions, more concerns. Finally, they were dismissed. As Zixthar and Mirasol walked out, Saryx stopped them. One more thing, she said. The Hayes family requested that you continue as their guards. Do you accept? Yes, Zixthar said without hesitation. I do. Even knowing what you now know about humans, about their capabilities, especially knowing what I know. Mrs. Hayes deserves guards who understand her true nature, who respect it. I can provide that. Saryx nodded slowly. Very well. Assignment confirmed. But Zixthar, be careful. The galaxy is watching humanity now. What Mrs. Hayes did, it changed things. People are either going to respect humans more or fear them more. Maybe both. Fear built on ignorance is dangerous, Zixthar said. Better they fear humans for the right reasons than the wrong ones. He and Mirasol returned to duty that afternoon. They met Linda at her quarters. Her hands had healed quickly. Human regeneration was faster than most species. She greeted them with her usual warm smile. Ready for another shopping trip? She asked jokingly. If required, Zixthar replied, though perhaps we should avoid parking structures for a while. Linda laughed. The sound was light, easy, like she hadn't performed an impossible feat just days ago, like she was just an ordinary mother. But Zixthar knew better now. They walked through the station together. Linda needed to pick up some items from the commissary. Amy and Danny walked beside her, arguing about something trivial. Just a normal family doing normal things. But Zixthar noticed changes. Other species in the corridor gave them more space. Some watched Linda with wary eyes. Others nodded respectfully. The footage had spread. Everyone knew what she was, what she could do. Linda noticed too. People are staring. You're famous now, Mirasol said. The human who caught a vehicle. I'd rather not be famous. I just want to buy groceries and raise my kids. Linda sighed. Do you think this will ever blow over? In time, perhaps, Zixthar said. But you've changed how the galaxy sees humans. That can't be undone. They reached the commissary. Linda shopped while her children explored the aisles. Zixthar positioned himself near the entrance. He watched the other shoppers. Most gave the Hayes family respectful distance now. A young Dravix approached Linda. Zixthar tensed, ready to intervene, but the Dravix simply bowed his head. Mrs. Hayes, the young alien said in careful human standard language, I saw the footage. What you did, it was incredible. You are very brave. Linda looked embarrassed. I'm just a mom. Any mother would do the same. Maybe human mothers, the Dravix replied, but not many others could. You should be proud. After he left, Linda looked at Zixthar. I'm not sure how to feel about all this attention. Feel nothing if you prefer, Zixthar suggested. You acted on instinct. You saved your child. The fact that others are impressed doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change who you are. Who am I? Linda asked quietly. Zixthar considered the question. You're a mother, a teacher, A woman from a planet that tried to kill your species for millions of years. You're a survivor. You're strong. Even when you don't feel strong, you're human. And I'm beginning to understand that being human means being capable of the impossible when necessary. Linda's eyes were wet. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. They finished shopping and returned to the residential sector. As they walked, Zixthar thought about the future, about humans spreading through the galaxy, about what would happen when other species truly understood what Deathworlders were capable of. Some would fear them, some would respect them. Some would want them as allies, some as enemies. But everyone would remember the day a human mother caught a falling vehicle with her bare hands. Everyone would remember that humans don't accept defeat easily, that they fight for what they love, that they're capable of extraordinary feats when pushed, and the galaxy would adjust. Zixthar looked at Linda Hayes, walking peacefully with her children. She was back to being just a mom now, just a teacher, just an ordinary human. Except there was no such thing as an ordinary human anymore. They were all Deathworlders. They all carried the potential for impossible strength. They all had the instinct to protect what they loved, no matter the cost. And Zixthar was honored to stand beside them. As they reached the Hayes family quarters, Danny tugged on his mother's hand. Mom. Can we get ice cream tomorrow? Linda smiled. Sure, kiddo. Ice cream sounds good. Zixthar and Mirasol exchanged glances. Ice cream. Such a simple request. Such a normal childhood moment. But they would approach tomorrow's trip with new understanding, with respect for what Linda Hayes represented, with awareness that beneath the pleasant exterior of every human was the strength of a species that refused to die. We'll escort you to the ice cream parlor, Zixthar said. It would be our honor. Linda laughed. For ice cream? That seems excessive. Not excessive, Mirasol said gently. Just appropriate. You're important, Mrs. Hayes. Your family is important, and we take our duties seriously. Well, thank you, both of you. Linda opened her door. Same time tomorrow, then? Same time, Zixthar confirmed. The door closed. Zixthar and Mirasol walked back to their quarters in comfortable silence. This is going to be the most interesting assignment of our careers, isn't it? Mirasol said. Yes, Zixthar agreed, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were not fragile. They were not weak. They were Deathworlders, forged in a crucible of a planet that killed the unprepared and strengthened the survivors. And when it came to protecting their young, humans were capable of anything. Absolutely anything. What are we going to do about it? Zixthar thought about that question. About Linda Hayes lifting a vehicle with her bare hands. About her refusal to let death claim her child. About the strength hiding beneath that pleasant, ordinary exterior. We're going to spread the word, he said. Other guards need to know. The council needs to know. Everyone needs to understand that humans are not weak. They're not fragile. They're Deathworlders. And Deathworlders are capable of anything when pushed. They walked back to their own quarters. Tomorrow, Zixthar would file his report. He would attach the security footage. He would make sure that everyone understood what he had witnessed. And the galaxy would have to adjust its understanding of humanity, because the truth was now undeniable. Humans were far more dangerous, far more capable, and far stronger than anyone had believed. They just needed the right motivation to show it. What does that mean? Zixthar asked. The medic looked at Linda, who was now sitting on the edge of the stretcher with her children pressed against her sides. It means her body went into full emergency mode. Humans have these limiters, you see, safety protocols that keep them from hurting themselves. But under extreme stress, especially when protecting offspring, those limiters shut off. The body becomes capable of extraordinary feats. He paused. I've read about it. Hysterical strength, they call it. But I've never actually seen it happen. Zixthar looked at Linda Hayes, a school teacher, a mother, a woman who had been shopping for toilet paper and toys an hour ago, a woman who had just performed a feat that should have been impossible, and he realized that everything he thought he knew about humans was wrong. "Has there been any specific threat?" Mirasol asked, concerned. "No, nothing like that. He just worries. It's sweet, really." Linda adjusted her grip on the shopping bags. "One more stop. We need to pick up our vehicle from the parking structure and then we'll head home." The parking structure loomed ahead, a massive building with hundreds of levels. Vehicles from across the galaxy were stored there, everything from small personal transports to cargo haulers. Zixthar felt himself relaxing. The assignment was nearly complete. In 15 minutes, they would deliver the Hayes family safely home. Then he and Mirasol could file their report and move on to the next job. He had no idea that the next 15 minutes would change everything he thought he knew about humans. "Understood. Sleep well, Senior Guard." "You as well." Zixthar deactivated the communicator and returned to his review. But his mind wandered. He thought about the assignment, about Linda Hayes and her 2 children, about a simple shopping trip that would probably be the easiest pay he'd earned in months. He had no way of knowing that in less than 24 hours, everything he believed about humans would be shattered. He had no way of knowing that he was about to witness something impossible, something that would change not just his understanding of humans, but his understanding of what intelligent beings were truly capable of when pushed to their limits. For now, he simply reviewed his security protocols and prepared for another routine day of protection duty. Tomorrow would be easy. Tomorrow would be simple. Tomorrow would change everything.